Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back for another strategy news video with the Terminator. And today is a really big news one, guys. Today, we're going to look at Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign because after many moons of waiting for something about battles in this game and how they might compare to Total War, we finally have the 28th dev diary, which is an intro into tactical battles. Now, if you don't know anything about Knights of Honor 2, I've got a couple videos on the channel. You can check it out as well. I'll leave them in the video description for you to check out, but it's essentially a grand strategy game. It's got multiplayer, it's got religion, intrigue, diplomacy, military aspects, warfare, royal courts, etc. It's very similar in terms of like what Crusader Kings and Crusader Kings 3 does, but it's kind of like a more, I guess, immersive and detailed version of that, because Crusader Kings 3 is kind of a bit more basic compared to its predecessors. This is a fully fledged medieval grand strategy game, and the interesting thing, and what we're going to look at today in this video, is the tactical battles that comes with Knights of Honor 2. Now, this is really cool because when you look at grand strategy, when you look at strategy as a whole, Total War is a game that combines strategy and a campaign map with very immersive and engaging fun battles, right? There's no real competitor to Total War, and that's why Knights of Honor 2, and this is like huge because this game could be potentially the first major competitor to Creative Assembly's Total War. So the first thing to note, guys, is that on the grand campaign, a battle can happen and be automated. And there's, an algorithm developed basically to pit armies against each other based on stats and numbers and varieties of different units. The leadership, skill, experience, all of that is going to play into how these battles might play out automatically on the grand campaign map. But there's an option here, which is what we're going to obviously talk about now, for the player to lead the battles by entering battle view. And battle view is essentially this image here. This is what you're going to see when you go into the battle. You'll see your armies in the map in the bottom right here, where they enter into the battle, where reinforcements might come from, where the enemy troops are in relation to your army position here. And this is what it's going to look like. This is the UI. It looks obviously a lot more basic compared to Total War. But it's an actual competitor. This is the first time we're seeing tactical battles like this in a grand strategy game. So I think it's a really good start. We've got different, varieties of units here. The general's bodyguard formations, it looks like, which is cool as well. We've got siege weapons, a battering ram, a trebuchet over here, or a mangonel. We've got infantry units, ranged units, and obviously you've got enemy army as well, has some peasant units, it looks like, and other different types. And all of this is essentially, our first look into what battles are going to be like in Knights of Honor 2. We've got the enemy general here with an 11, which is presumably his kind of like skill level. We've got a little bar here telling the kind of like balance of power in the battle as well. And these kind of like little star icons must be victory points, I'm guessing, or yeah, it looks like from the map down here, you can see as well, there are these victory points that potentially, like if you capture the enemy victory points, you win, or a timer sets in, just like in Total War as well, and you have to defend yours, which is an interesting aspect to how battle gameplay can be like in Knights of Honor 2. So we can tell a lot from this image. And I guess the final thing I'll mention is up top left here, you can see a door exit button, which must be, you can play the tactical battles, but I guess you can exit at any moment as well. And I guess that just as on the campaign map, where you can enter a battle but retreat if things are looking a bit hairy, you can retreat from within the tactical view here as well, which is also quite cool. So yeah, this is the first image here, and it shows us a lot. It's very interesting. When you go back into the text here, there's a blurb about, when you're in your tactical view, there's another algorithm built to essentially represent as best as possible the terrain features and even shapes of towns which are present in the area of the grand campaign where these battles happen. So that's quite cool. It just means that, if you're in a grand campaign and you're attacking a city in a desert, this is the kind of like tactical view that you will see when you get into the battles, and the culture that represents the buildings in this area, the weather, perhaps, how much attrition the city has taken and how long you've been besieging the city essentially as well. All these things will have a part to play in the look and feel of these battles, which is very, very cool. The rest of the world, also another interesting aspect, is paused while you get into these battles. So if you decide to play out these battles in tactical view, you'll find that the rest of the grand campaign is on pause while you play them. Now, an interesting aspect of this, though, is while it's paused, the only thing that's not paused is the potential for reinforcements. So if you initiate this tactical battle and you've got an army approaching from the other side of the city, but it's just not there yet when you enter the tactical view, they can still enter the battle if they get there in time. And I'm not seeing a kind of like a timer on any of these images in terms of maybe, you know, there's reinforcements maybe 2 minutes away or something. But I assume that's going to be something that happens or gets implemented as a feature during development as well, just to give you a sense of, you know, if there's reinforcements approaching, how long and from which direction are they coming from, etc. Just like how we get in Total War these days as well. So that's a cool aspect, a cool element of these battles as well. Now, going into how many armies you'll find in these battles to play, there are up to 3 armies that a player can control. 2 led by marshals or other royal court members, 1 formed by local defending troops. So if you're being invaded, for example, you can lead 2 armies to fend off the invaders, plus 1 defending militia. So I guess that is made up of the kind of local in that region or a nearby city in terms of its garrison stationed locally. So that's an interesting thing as well. I mean, in terms of 2 armies that you can bring to the fight, or 3, I guess, excluding a defending army. So if you can bring 3 armies to an invasion battle, for example, that's a little bit limiting, you know? I mean, it's obviously there to limit how much performance and FPS battles eat up and how big these battles can get. Because obviously the later the game goes, the more powerful you get, the bigger these battles can be. You know, this is how we have these things in Total War, especially. So they're essentially, I think they're limiting how much these armies can play out in these battles, mainly for performance issues, which makes sense. But I think this is kind of limiting essentially the scale of the battle, especially if the number of units you can have in battles is like 9 or 10 as well. So this is something to think about, I think. Hopefully this is something they test around in terms of numbers of units in armies or numbers of armies that can enter a battle. But this is just something that's interesting to keep in mind as well. In terms of the types of battles, though, this is another very cool area to get into. There are 3 types of battles that will be present in the game: field battles, assault, and break siege. In the first one, field battles, which can be started if armies meet on the field or in a settlement, that's excluding a castle. None of the armies have defensive structures, and both armies have army camps. So I'm guessing that's the stars that you see on the map here in the bottom right. Army camps that you spawn in from, maybe, and have to attack the enemy army from, taking out their army camps, essentially, stopping them from being able to reinforce, and then I guess defeating them in battle, essentially. None of these armies have defensive structures. They have army camps. In break, siege, and assault, the defending side of a town or castle has fortifications, which include walls, gates, towers. Within towns and castles, there are capture points that have to be defended. So yeah, instead of the army camps in castles, you'll have capture points. The durability and attack power of fortifications depend on the siege defense and attrition damage of the town and castle. Now, this is one of the more exciting parts of these tactical battles, because on the grand strategy campaign map here, you're going to have these battles happening automatically. They're going to rip apart the siege defense of the castle or town you're attacking. They're going to, you know, incur attrition on these settlements, etc. as well. And that will be present in the battles themselves. So if you're besieging a city and it's already got 50% attrition and you enter tactical view, you know, one side of these walls is going to be crumbled. The siege tower, the defensive towers are going to be damaged, you know, and that's the kind of escalation view that you have in Total War and Attila, etc. as well. This is present here in Knights of Honor 2, and that is an amazing, amazing thing. I love that this is a feature in Knights of Honor 2 in the battles, and I can't wait to actually try these out myself as well. But it's just another very cool feature that the devs have worked on to implement in this game. just going into the details here, how damaged they are depends on what percentage of the siege defense is lost prior to starting the tactical battle. Entering an assault when siege defense is brought to 0 is completely different from assaulting as fast as possible. So siege defense is essentially the stat here you need to look at. If siege defense is full, you're going to be going up against a full complement of defensive towers, walls, etc. But if it's at 0, you know, the whole place is crumbling down, things are burning, and you're going to have a much different view of the tactical battle map as well. Both assault and break siege battles take place on the same town castle map, but in break siege, the attacking force will be waiting outside, and in assault, while the attackers are trying to storm the fortifications, attackers have the initiative. If the initiative is lost, however, whoever had it fails their attempt and retreats. Okay, so there's an initiative aspect of battle maps, especially in sieges, and depending on how much initiative you have, you'll have a different type. I guess you're either storming essentially the fortifications, or you're waiting outside for the defensive power to come down and for your initiative to be quite high. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting this from here. Which leads to some morale loss and a continuation of the siege. Thus, it is advisable not to sit and wait if you have undertaken break, siege, or assault, and nor will the enemies wait. They are the ones that took the initiative. So yeah, there's this element of, right, if you're being besieged, how do you break the siege? If you have the initiative, you can storm out and storm the enemy as well. So there's that kind of element of battles to look forward to as well. Very, very, very exciting stuff here. There are several ways that a battle can end. If an army loses its leader, it disperses immediately, so it is important that the nobleman cavalry squad is well protected. Two dire morale losses of the entire army can also lead to an army's full retreat. So obviously morale is a big part of battles. Leaders of these armies have to be protected, just as in Total War, they'll incur morale penalties. So yeah, it's nice to see a big morale aspect of this game. I'm guessing when you look into the battles here and you try and ascertain where morale sits, I'm guessing it's like this blue bar up here. These blue bars on the individual units are morale, and you've got the green bar that's maybe the numbers in each of these units. I'm just gonna guesstimating here, but that's kind of how you can tell where morale sits for each of your units, and then maybe up here in terms of the whole army as well. So cool, very, very cool. And yeah, I guess like from a text point of view, this is the dev diary in a gist, but I mean, there's so much you can tell from the battles and that reflect in what they're saying in the dev diary as well. I mean, it's so exciting, guys. And these battles, I mean, this is a view of the camp, basically, one of the stars that you have to take over. You got a flag here, and essentially, you know, this is an indication of how much progress you've made and whether it's captured or not. Up top, you can see multiple generals, multiple members of your court or marshals that lead each of these armies against each other. And yeah, I mean, you've got different units. It's all... I guess at a certain point, you won't be able to exit the battle either. You can only retreat. So yeah, there's a lot of very, very cool info tidbits here that really actually hypes me up about what Knights of Honor 2 battles are going to be like. Compared to, you know, what Total War battles are, this is a really, really cool kind of introduction into what battles will be. I mean, obviously, Total War has a massive edge. It's got huge experience into these tactical battles, the variety of different types of units, the visuals of these units, formations, how terrain affects battles as well in our historical titles. So just kind of comparing Knights of Honor 2, for example, to Rome 2 or Attila, there's going to be a massive difference, you know? But this is a very, like, there are a lot of features here that get me very excited about what Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign can be like from a battle perspective. And, you know, with how detailed the grand strategy is compared to Total War, especially, I mean, the grand strategy here is very, very detailed. I highly recommend you check out their other dev diaries. This, coupled with that, is just going to be an absolutely immense feature to get into. So yeah, that's essentially it today, guys. I just wanted to run through this dev diary with you. Check out what the introduction to battles are going to be like for Knights of Honor 2. It's a fantastically exciting game that I can't wait to get my hands on. It's essentially a direct competitor of Total War at this point, with features like tactical battles, with the detailed grand strategy in a medieval setting that I mean, this could essentially be a very, very decent competitor to any sort of Medieval 3 Creative Assembly you're working on. So yeah, that's essentially it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, do give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer anything. Check out the other videos on Knights of Honor 2 I've made as well if you want to get to know more about the grand strategy side of the game especially. And subscribe for more strategy, gameplay, news just like this around Knights of Honor 2 and Total War, obviously content as well, because that's my main niche. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.